Northern and Southern rivalry dates back to the Industrial Revolution, where the development of each side's economy and way of life were just being established. The balance and equality of the country were constantly being threatened by the increasing split of states, becoming the North and South. The presence of slavery, admitting new states, and differing opinions began to severely tear the country in two. The attack on Fort Sumter officially began some of the bloodiest years America has had to face, the Civil War. As the Civil War progressed, both sides began to recognize and utilize their advantages over the other. The North had 2 times the amount of railroad and farmland and had over 80% of all the factories. 2/3 of the population resided in the Union states, allowing a population advantage in the war. These advantages over the South allowed the North to provide more troops and be able to supply and sustain a larger army. Also allowed the North to have a more productive and effective economy. The South relied on having advantages concerning the war itself. They were fighting on their own land, allowing them to have a more knowledgeable position over the North. They also had more experience and higher ranking generals, allowing the South to have a distinct military advantage over the North. These advantages lead to the development of new technology and use of strategy to outsmart and outperform the other side. Technology was quickly being developed during the Civil War. New forms of communication, such as the telegraph, greatly helped the war effort, allowing information to be passed on much more quickly during war. Railroads and trains allowed supplies and troops to be transported to the battlefield much more quickly than by foot. War tactics changed because of technology like mini-balls and ironclads. More lives were lost unnecessarily because of the slow adaptation to this new technology. Strategies were also shifted because of the development of this new technology. The North established the Anaconda Plan. The plan was to take the Mississippi River and to blockade all of the ports in the South. They were able to safely and efficiently do this because of the ironclads. The North was able to utilize new technology due to the fact that they had more factories. The South, on the other hand, had less factories. They had to focus more on strategy. Thanks to their smart-witted generals, they were able to win many battles. Their strategy was to mainly defend their land, since there was no point in invading the North. They also tried to gain support from larger countries. The North was able to rely on technology, whereas the South relied on strategy. After the Union War at Antietam, Abraham Lincoln was finally able to issue the Emancipation Proclamation. Many abolitionists had insisted to ending slavery before, but Lincoln was hesitant due to fear that the border states would succeed. The Emancipation Proclamation freed slaves in the South and broke off support from Britain, since they wouldn't support a nation who favored slaves. The Emancipation Proclamation also encouraged many African Americans to enlist in the war. More than 189,000 joined the army. In the very beginning, the North had blocked off southern ports, which resulted in no trade with other countries. The economy in the South drastically spiraled downwards. Prices in the North were also increased, however in the South it was much worse. Inflation was an obvious outcome, but it got so bad and desperate that many people had to live off rats. Women were greatly affected due to the war. While their husbands were away at war, they took over factories, farms, and they even were nurses on the battlefield, spies, or dressed up like men to fight. Although it seemed like many supported the war, there were many Southerners who didn't. Some didn't like the fact that rich men could pay others to be drafted in for them. Others who didn't own large plantations didn't support slavery in the first place. The advantages that the North had quickly became more apparent. Lincoln strived to have generals as smart as the ones in the South. To achieve this, he fired generals one after the other. By doing this, he was able to find generals who could actually help him win the war. After many battles, both sides had casualties, but since the South had already originally had less people, it was even more devastating for them. The Union was also able to supply the troops due to railroads. Abraham Lincoln figured out how to utilize the telegraph to keep in contact with his troops. The final turning point was the Battle of Gettysburg. General E. Lee decided to use his heart instead of his head, charging his army into an impossible battle. Atop a hill stood the Union soldiers, who mercilessly shot down on the Confederate army. The cruel battle lasted for 3 whole days. Lee retreated to the Potomac River, and the Union and Confederates continued to fight in Virginia. However, Lee soon surrendered in the Appomattox courthouse, where he was given general's terms by Grant, who wanted to forgive the South, thus ending the Civil War.